audit. This is what I'm going to show you. Plus, can we automate audit of tally? This is what we'll also look at. And third part, learn how to automate MS Excel in tally. Some of us would also be doing accounts writing or bookkeeping for clients, or we maintain our own office accounts. Now we maintain the accounts in tally. So if you have to maintain accounts in tally, we have to manually enter the data for each of the transactions. We have to create the masters for each of the accounts. Now, is there a way I can automate the accounts in tally using Excel templates? That's what I'm going to focus on in the third part of the presentation. Let's look at learn how to excel beyond MS Excel using analytics. Now, each of my presentation, 3 parts, has got four key points. Now, here we are going to look at the important thing which is required. They say is you need to have the right mindset. You have the skill set, you also need to have the mindset. So this is what is important for practical automation. So we know that we are living in an increasingly digitized world, and data is available mostly in a digital format. Any data you want, even regulatory authorities require most of the data in a digital format. If the data is available digitally, we should learn how to access and analyze this data digitally using technology. And that's where we can harness the power of technology and enhance the productivity. Now, they say intelligence is not so artificial. We have heard a lot of artificial intelligence, and you would have seen that artificial intelligence is the flavor of the day. You talk about AI, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is where the computer learns and applies the intelligence. But there are so many areas where the computer cannot learn and cannot perform like human beings. And this is especially true in the case of critical thinking. CEs as thought leader are known for critical thinking, and this is where we learn how to use analytics. And especially CEs are supposed to be creative problem solvers. We should learn how we can use technology to solve the problems of our clients. And that's where the value addition comes in. They say automation begins with strategic thinking, which means we should be able to strategically think, what does the client require? And this requires that we ask the right questions with the right software to facilitate creative problem solving. Earlier, when you wanted to have some information, you would meet the CFO or the CEO or the accountant to get information. Now, in the digital world, where most of the accounts are automated, we have to meet the CTO or the CIO because he's the one who is in control of all the information. So we should be able to ask the right questions to technology, to the data, so that we can get the answers which is required for compliance, assurance, or for consulting. The key questions we need to ask is, who has got access to the data? What is the type of data available? When is the data available? Where is the data available? What format data is available? How you can access the data? And why you have to analyze the data. These are the basic questions you have to analyze. I'm going to show you with practical examples as we go on. Now let's go to the second point, which I'm discussing now. There is a whole new world beyond MS Excel. We have used Excel. We know Excel is an excellent tool, but we can go beyond Excel and excel in analytics. And this is what I'm going to show in the demo, that we can use Excel, but there are so many areas where you can go beyond Excel. Let's say if you look at Excel and ask any common user who has spent, let's say, more than 200 hours or 300 hours on using Excel, and ask them to list of functions which are commonly used in Excel, you will find these could be the most common functions which are used. There are about 20 to 30 functions in Excel which are most prominently used. Excel, although is an excellent tool, has its own limitations. So this is where we need to supplement the use of Excel by using a data analytics tool. So what is data analytics is all about? They say that data analytics is the science of examining raw data with the purpose of drawing conclusions about that information. For example, let's say we have the sales information. We have the sales information for, let's say, last 1 year or last 3 years. Now the management wants us to give a trend analysis of how the sale has been performing, and what is the performance of each of the customers, or what is the performance of each of the salesmen, or how the products are being sold for each of the product category. Now, if you know how to use analytics, you find that this can be done much more easily and much more effectively, and we can provide value addition to the clients. Why is data analytics a required skill set? They say data analytics is a must-have capability for the audit function and is widely expected to become a big part of its future. Just like if you see long back, most of us were using calculators, and without calculator, a CA would not be able to work because most of the cases we needed to do some calculation. Now, the data analytics is one such software which has become a key tool for the CA's toolkit. Now, what type of questions can data analytics answer? Now, it can answer questions about the past, which is about hindsight in terms of you can understand what happened, how many times did we sale happen, how often did it happen, where did it happen. We can also get insights into the problem in terms of where is the problem. For example, the expenditure for maintenance is going up. We want to know where is it going up, why it is going up. Okay, we can look at where is the problem. What is the remedial action we need? We can also analyze that. And why is this happening? For example, let's say a particular expenditure, travel expense has been going up. Why is this happening? What are the contributing factors? We can analyze the data and find out why that's happening. Now, this is about the past, the present, and next we can also predict the future, which is about the foresight, where we look into the future and say if the same trend continues. For example, we got the sales data of, let's say, last 4 years. If the same trend continues, what will be the sales for the next 2 years or 3 years? Now we know how to do forecast analysis. Now this is much bigger and better than that. And we can also look at what will happen next. These are some of the type of the questions which data analytics can answer. How to use data analytics? You must have heard of a buzzword which is commonly used, that data is the new oil. Now, data is definitely the new oil. Oil cannot be used on its own. Oil requires an engine. Now, we should know that how do we unlock the power of this data? And that's where we require analytics as the engine to use this data. How to use data analytics? This gives you the standard process. You need to first of all get the right data. There may be volumes of data pertaining to various processes. You need to know very clearly for which area you require the data. You need to curate the data, which means you need to purify the data, because quite often the data may not be in the right format which you require. You need to curate and validate the data and get the data in the right format and validate and confirm whether the data is correct and complete. And then you will decide, depending on the objectives, what is the type of test you want to perform. And for performing the test, you select the specific tools and techniques from the software and perform the test. The software can only give you information from the data, which means any software you use has its own limitation. It can analyze the data and can give you information. From that information, the CA has to draw the inferences and provide insights for the management. And this is the most critical steps where a CA has to come in, where you need to analyze the data and draw inferences. For example, let's say the collection has been bad, which means although the company has been doing well in terms of the, let's say, the net profit ratio, and you also find the sales has been increasing, but they have a cash flow problem. Now you do the analysis, and based on that you find that although the sale has been going up, you also find that the recovery from the debtors has been going up, which recovery of the debtors is going down, which means the recovery is not good. So it means they're making sales, but the cash flow is not coming from the sales. And when you analyze the sales, you find in terms of the debtors, the credit period, let's say, is 60 days, but you find when you do the analysis, there are debtors who are not paid for more than 3 months or 4 months. Now you analyze from that particular sales data, look at the recovery based on the payment which is made, and identify, okay, date-wise or age-wise analysis, and you find these are the parties who are paid beyond a particular period. And then you can identify the pattern and tell the management, these are the parties who have not paid for so much period, and the management can take remedial action. It could also be possible, let's say each of the data has got a credit limit, but you find that they have actually made the sales beyond the credit limit. So I'll show you how this can be done through the software much more easily rather than through Excel. So by doing analytics, you should be able to report the risk to the management and also provide recommendations and insights. These are the 7 steps for using data analytics. You identify the objectives and the deliverables. Every assignment has got an objective, what you want to accomplish, and it has got a deliverable. For performing this, you need to identify what is the data and what is the platform in which the data is available, understand the business process and the system in which the data operates, identify the controls and the tests which you need to perform, and based on that, you apply the relevant tools and techniques. And once you apply the tools and techniques, based on the result you got, you should be able to analyze and draw inferences and insights and prepare the outputs and the reports as required. Now, these are some of the techniques of data analytics, so which I am also going to show you the demo. For example, there is a function called classify, which is similar to the pivot table. You also have summarize or MIS. You can also identify duplicates. I saw recently a presentation on YouTube where one of the CAs was showing how you can identify duplicates. And in Excel, he took 15 minutes to show that this is how you can identify duplicates in a list of sales invoice which has happened. Now, I was surprised that using a software, you can do in less than 15 seconds. Instead of going through all the steps, you just use the function. Within 15 seconds, you can get the result of all the duplicates, what will be the volume of data. You can also identify the format. For example, let's say you got the GST sales data. Now you want to find out whether the GST number which has been provided is correct. So you can, in the thousands of GST numbers available, identify the format, whether the format is correct, and identify the exceptions in that. You can also stratify the data in terms of putting the data into different buckets. You can also perform aging analysis of the data. You can perform outlier analysis. Like that, there are so many functions which can be performed. Like you apply the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule, you find there are about 20 common functions which are used for data analytics. And this gives you a list of this out of these 20 functions. I'm going to give you a demo shortly of how to perform data analytics using this data analytics tool. Learn how to excel beyond Excel. Now we are looking at performing analytics beyond Excel. Now I'm going to use the software. There are many types of software available. Broadly, you can categorize the software for analytics into 3 areas. One type of software, which is high-end software. For example, let's say the income tax department is using a software for doing the analytics of the huge volume of data, based on which they're able to identify certain patterns in terms of who has paid how much of tax and what are the transactions happen. Based on that, they can identify the outliers and say, these are the customers whose transactions is running to, let's say, millions, where the income tax they are paid is nominal. And then they identify these transactions and give it. And that is the high-end analysis. That could be one. Second is you have a specific data analytics software, which is available, which can be used. For example, let's say you have got ACL, IDEA. We also have got SoftCat, which can be used, which is a specific data analytics software. In this case, you import the data into the data analytics software, which means you get the required data, import the data into the data analytics software, and do the analysis. Now, the third type of data analytics software for which I'm going to give you a demo is called as data analytics software, which is an add-in to Excel. And this is what we call as ECAT. There are few software in this category also available internationally. Probably there are about 2 or 3 software which are available, which help you to perform the same analytics functions, which is done through a independent software as an add-in software to Excel. So this ECAT is a software which has been developed by our company, and it's since more than 25 years. Now here I'm not selling the software, but I'm selling you the concept that you can use data analytics. You can use the tools based on what you want. So this gives you the 7 key benefits of using data analytics software like ECAT. One of the most important things we found in using data analytics software, let's say you look at any software, high-end software, or even the medium software which is there are 2 important factors which you have to consider. One is you are impressed with the data analytics software and you want to use it. Then you find the cost. You ask them the cost. They say it costs you around $2,000 per annum. And they say it's about 10 to 20% is the annual maintenance fees. And most of the CAs you find this becomes very expensive. The second thing is the time which it takes to learn the software. So generally, for example, let's say you have a common data analytics software. So they say you do a basic training on this software, and the basic training is for 2 days. After that, you have an intermediate training for 2 days and another advanced level training for 3 days, which means about 7 days is the training which is there. I think the Bombay CA Association is doing some training on audit software, and you find for a 2-day training, earlier to the 2 day, now they have made it about 5 days of 2.5 hours each, and they charge you around 10,000 rupees for members. And I have come across members who attend this program, and they say even after that, it's a little complex to use. The key advantage of using a data analytics software, which is an add-in to Excel like ECAT, is that learnability is very, very fast. Now I'll show you. Once I show you, probably you will find that within half an hour, you're ready to learn and use the software. So what is most important when you're using analytics is, now we have got the intelligence that technology should give us the techniques to apply thought to technology. So if you have to just summarize all the discussion we have before I go to the practical demo, analytics is all about applying thought to technology. You got your intelligence, you got your skill sets, you got your ideas. Can you apply that to the technology and get insights and draw inferences? That's the most important aspect. That's the most important message which I want to give in the first part of my presentation. Now, who are the users of ECAT or data analytics? It can be the auditors who can find answers to the audit questions. It can be fraud investigators, or it can be management and CXOs. So if you look at ECAT as a data analytics software, as I said, first thing, it's an add-in to MS Excel software, which means it sits above MS Excel, which means when you open any Excel worksheet, you are ready to do the analysis because you can perform the data analysis on any Excel data or any Excel worksheet. It has the look and feel of MS Excel, but behind there is the power of database. Now, there are two versions. One is ECAT Enterprise, which has got more than 380 functions. And we've got ECAT Pro, which is specifically for CAs, and their teams, which has got more than 120 functions. The beauty of the software is you can perform complex analysis in a few clicks. Not only that, it performs auto documentation, which means as and when you're performing the function, automatically it maintains a record of all the functions which have been performed. Now, this gives you a list of the panels, and these are some of the key techniques of data analytics. You have to first curate the data, you profile the data, and then once you profile the data, you analyze, investigate the data, and you document your findings. You got utilities and tools. Which means the software is also made in such a way that it follows the same techniques of data analytics. How does ECAT help in data analytics? Now, this is what is the most important part before I go to the demo. You have the knowledge and the skills. The software provides the tools and techniques so that you can provide value addition for all. Now, this gives you the 7 steps for using the ECAT as a data analytics tool. You get the data ready for data analytics, which means you need to format the data and get the data in the right way. You make a copy of the files. One basic principle which is followed is we always make a copy of the files before performing the analysis. We perform the curation of the data. We harmonize the data to get it in the right format. For example, whether all the date-related data is in the correct format, whether all the text data is in the correct format. Like that, we do the harmonizing, and then we document the field description, which are the fields which are available, what inference we can draw from the fields, and then fields which are not required, we delete, and then we review the field formats, and then we need to perform the functions as required. Now, to summarize the discussion so far we had, if you want to use any analytic tool, first thing you need to understand the business process controls, decide what are the information criteria which you are analyzing, and then use the right tools and techniques. And most important is you need to analyze and report the findings. Now, let me give you a practical demo of some of the key features of data analytics software. So that I'm going to use Excel, and I'll show you the software. For example, let's say I have this particular data. Let me pick up. Okay, I'll close these files which are not required, so that it becomes easy. Yeah, I'll come to this files a little later in the last part of the presentation. Now I'm in Excel. Now this, if you see here, let me push this down. Yes. Now if you see here, we have got this ECAT Enterprise. This is what I said is an add-in software. When you click on this, all these functions which are available, these are the functions which are available in the data analytics software. So this is where I said you have this more than 380 functions which are available in this particular software. Let's understand some problems and find solutions using this particular analytics tool. So I just want you to understand the concept. We also have some sample data which can be used. So I'm going to open the sample test data file, which you are going to use for the purpose of analysis. So this is a sample data file. The first thing you find, this is one of the important functions which is available. This is called as index sheets. Now, if you see here in this case, I have got a list of all the worksheets which are available, and these are beautifully organized with the name of the sheet. This one sheet. It also tells me what is the type of the sheet, whether a hidden sheet or very hidden sheet. It also tells me the number of rows, number of columns, and number of cells, which means quite often you find that you get a workbook with multiple worksheets and they're not named the worksheets. You don't know where the data is available and what is the number of rows or number of cells. So here, using a simple function in ECAT, we got a function called index sheets. So when you use the index sheet function, it actually creates this particular index sheet with the link. Okay, this is one of the functions which I want to show you. I'll come to this a little later. Now let's say I'm going to pick up some data which is pertaining to, let's say, Curate, to harmonize. Now I said the first thing you need to do when you analyze the data is to harmonize the data. Now you got this data, quite often you get the data in this format. Now you find in Excel, let's say I want to apply a filter, I can just select this row and apply the filter. But if I want to perform any analytics function, it's important that the data should be available in a structured format. What do you mean a structured format? The simple definition is that the first row should be the column names. And after that, you don't have any blank rows or columns. If there are blank rows or columns, there is also a function to remove the blank rows and columns. Now let me come to the software. I click on ECAT Enterprise. Now if you see here, these are all the functions which are pertaining to Curate. Now if you see here in remove, there are so many functions you can perform. Okay, if you look at delete, now there are so many functions you can perform. Similarly, let's say transform. Now in this case, I'll show you a little example little later. Now let's say in this case, the function I want to use is what is called as harmonize sheet. So I click on this harmonize sheet. Now you see it has opened. Now it has got so many functions. Now first thing I want to do is I want to remove the top rows. Now if you look at the number of rows I have to remove, I find I have to remove the top 10 rows. Okay. Now it has got so many other functions. For example, if the data is merged, you cannot perform analytics properly. I can unmerge all the data. I can unmerge the column headings and give a new column heading for the blank column. I can remove the empty rows. So what I'll do is I select the basic option and I say, okay. See, now it's telling what the type of function is performing. All this in Excel, if you have to do, it would have taken so much of time. This is performed just by a few clicks in the data analytics software. It's also removing the leading and trailing spaces. And this also becomes a problem, especially in Tally, when you got a ledger name. In ledger, when you in the Excel, you got the data which has got blank spaces, whereas in the Tally, you don't have blank space. So then you find that it says you're not able to import or add this. Now you see, the beauty of the software is now all this data has been formatted. This is what is called as one of the functions of curating the data. Now I performed, let's say, about 12 to 13 functions. In Excel, it would have taken me about 15 minutes to perform all this analysis. Here I'm able to do in a few seconds. And this is what is called as harmonize sheet. Now let's say in this data, what I've got for the purpose of analysis, now I don't require this, let's say, these columns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide these columns. Okay, now in this case, I'm interested in picking data. Let me apply the filter. I applied the filter. Let's say I want to pick up data pertaining to a particular vendor. So I'm going to pick up a particular vendor, let's say C351. Okay, these are all the transactions pertaining to C351. And I want to copy this data into separate worksheet. Now, in this case, you perform all this analysis. And once again, you have to extract, copy and paste, and there'll be some issues. Now, if you look at ECAT Enterprise, you have got some function called as extract visible cells, which means whatever is visible, only this particular data is extracted. Now you see, it's automatically copied all the data at one go. So you can analyze whatever you want. For example, you got the GST sales data, you got the GST sales data as per the 4% or 8%, whichever is there. You want to extract that information, you can extract the information in one go using the extract visible cells. Okay, you also have various other functions here. You can also convert the data. For example, let's say sometimes you get the data, you want convert that into numeric, character, or to zeros. Okay, you want to format the data. For example, the data is available. Sometimes some of them are in caps, some of them are not in caps. You want to format the data. You can also format the data. You can also transpose the data. Now, these are all some of the example of functions which are there in Curate. Now, our interest is more in terms of analysis. So the first step in any data analysis is to curate the data. Now, see, if you added the function, now you see I've got added some sheets. Now, if I go here and just say index sheets, now you'll find that what will happen is with the additional sheets, this particular sheet will be created. So you'll know exactly what are the files which are there. So this becomes a part of your documentation. Whenever you perform any analysis or any workbook you get, the first thing you do is you prepare this particular sheet. Now you see here, this is a new sheet I created and it is done with the link. So it becomes easy for me to navigate to the particular section. Now let's come to the specific function. Now I've got this particular data. Now let's see what are the type of data we have and what type of analysis we can perform. Now I've got this data pertaining to the sales and these sales are pertaining to, let me just sort the data. I got this data pertaining to transactions from 1/4/2019 to, it looks like we got data from 6/4/2019. Okay, so we got this particular data. Now what we do is, which means there are some issues in the invoice. That's why the data got sorted like this, because these are blanks. So what I'll do is I'll sort the data as per the sale date, and then we perform some analysis. I've got the data as per the sale date. Now I've got this Excel data. I want to perform a profiling of the data. So when you say performing profiling of the data, what you do in Excel is, now let's say I apply a filter. Now in the filter, I just go inside this. I find now when the data related to date comes in this format, we know that this is the January, February, March data, and this is the data pertaining to April to December. Okay, which means by this I have actually done the cutoff concept. I know this is for the financial year 1/4/2019 to 31st March 2020. Okay, similarly, I look at the invoice number. Now it gives me the list of invoice numbers. So if I just type BL blanks, now I find there are some invoice data which has gone. There are 3 invoices which are blank. Okay, which means before performing any data analysis, I do a quick review of the data to identify the exceptions. Similarly, I want to go to the dealer and check up whether there are any blanks. I can perform the analysis. So it means manually I can go and analyze the data for each of the columns. Instead of this, now using ECAT Enterprise or data analytics software, I can perform a function called as column statistics. When I go to column statistics, now you find what will be the number of columns. Now, for example, it is organized the data into numeric, date, and character. We'll perform these functions one by one. Let's say I want to perform for the sales related data on, for example, numeric data. Okay, so all the 3 fields I'm selecting. By default, it has selected certain fields. I can select any of them. For example, I also want to find out the number of negative records. I can select this. I also want to find out the number of 0 value records. So it means I have got about 10 to 12 types of analysis which I want to perform. And I say, okay. Now you see all this analysis which I'm trying to do manually in Excel for each of the columns. I'm able to get this in a few seconds with a few clicks. Now you see here, for this particular data, I'm able to get 4 invoice number. Now it has got me at one glance that the 3 invoices. Not only that, if I double click on this, it will be able to show me which are the exact 3 invoices which are blank. Now I can save this as a part of my audit records. Now if I go further here, it gives me the total amount of sales. Now there is no sense in totaling the invoice number. Let's look at the sales amount. So it gives me the total amount of the sales. It gives me the total value of the unit sold. So based on this, I can check for my GL whether the total sales amount is correct. It also tells me what is the item which has got the maximum sales and what is the item which has got the minimum sales. So this is how I can get an overall view. Now I want to save this data as a part of my audit records. I just say Excel view. So this will be saved as a part of my audit documentation. Let me come back again to the sales item. Now let me perform the analysis now pertaining to statistics. Now I'm just giving you the technique. You can perform, if you're comfortable in Excel, you can perform in Excel itself, there's no problem. But what I want to show you is how using the power of technology, you can perform analysis in a much more simple and effective way. Now here, if you see, I got the sales related data. Now just imagine, I want you to give me this analysis. Now I'm going to select all the statistics pertaining to date, and I want this in one click. So it means there are only 2 clicks I did now. Based on this, just look at what is the type of information I'm able to get for this particular data. And if you have to do the same thing in Excel, just imagine how much time it will take. See, now if you see here, it gives me the total number of records. And if there are any null value, it gives me. It also tells me, remember, I told you about the cutoff concept. It tells me in the sales data, which is the earliest date and which is the latest date. It also tells me the monthly, what are the total volume of transactions. Not only that, it also tells me the sales as per each of the day of the month, day of the week. Okay, we have got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like that. Now you find even on Sundays there are transactions, and based on this quick review, you find it looks like Saturday, this seems to be the lowest sales. It also gives me, most beautiful is the number of sales with inconsistent formula, which means, for example, I have got a sales data. I'll apply the same thing to another format. I'll show you. I'll be able to find out when they applied a formula, are there any cells where they manipulated the data? Recently, we had one case where we had the bank. One of my friends was appointed as an auditor for doing a forensic audit for a bank. And he shared some Excel statement. And when you got the Excel statement, we were surprised when we did the analysis. That gentleman who had given the bank statement had manipulated the Excel statement. He has applied the formula for most of the data, but some of the data he has manually gone and changed. I'll just give you an example here. Let's say I have the procurement data. Now this is the procurement data. Now I got the PO date, PO number, like that. If you see, for analytics, all the data has to be organized, which means it has to be provided in a structured manner. Okay, now let me just do the statistics for this. I got the details. I just go to column statistics. Now here, I'm just going to pick up the amount. Okay, select all numeric statistics. Now I'm going to select the amount, quantity, and unit price, and I'm going to select all the numeric statistics. Okay, this may take a little time. Okay, let's say I give this numeric statistics. See, in a few seconds, just imagine the number of rows I got. I got the 19 into 3. There are about 57 elements of data analysis I've got, and it took me only a few seconds. Now let's look at the beauty of this particular data. Now I told you about the number of cells with inconsistent formula. There are 13 cells with inconsistent formula. What is meant by this? Okay, I'll come to this. I'll show you. Before that, let's finish this. It also tells me in this particular data, let's say this procurement data has about 1,100 records. In this, there are 3 records which are negative. I want to see which are the records which are negative. I can directly go here, and it tells me that these are the records which are negative. Now the question is, how can amount be negative? So there has been some error, or there has been some data manipulation. So I can save this data and do further analysis as required. Now also tells me the number of positive records, total number of records. It also tells me there are no null records. It also tells me distinct amounts, which means out of all the 1,100 transactions, you can group them together into 206 distinct categories. If you look at in terms of the quantity, it has got 122 distinct categories of amounts, quantities which have been sold. Similarly, in terms of unit price, there are 28 distinct types of unit price which are there in the sale transactions. It also tells me the sum of the negative records, the sum of the positive records, what are the maximum value of sales which has happened, what are the least amount of sales which has happened, similarly in terms of the quantity. So I'm able to get a complete profiling of the data at one go just by using the analytics in a few seconds. Now let me come to the most interesting part, which I told you is the number of inconsistent formulas. Let me just double click on this to get the details. Now, if you see here in this case, what's happened, this particular amount is the formula. Right? In this case, what has happened? This person actually entered the value. Here also is entered the value. So in all these cases, you find they actually entered the value, whereas in other cases, they've entered a formula. Okay, now if you remove the filter, now in this case, it has extracted this data. If I come back to my original data, now if I come back to my original data and remove the filter, Now, if you see here, this amount is actually applied through a formula G2 into H2, which means I multiplied quantity and unit price to apply the amount. This is what happened. And all of a sudden you find in some cases, he has actually manipulated it and entered the figures. And this is what happened in the bank statement when that guy had given the loan at the limit. Some of the cases that fellow has got multiple loan, what he had done is instead of giving the formula, he just gone and manipulated that particular figure and manually changed the figures. Okay, so it means if a formula has been applied, you are able to consistently pick up this particular formula. Now, Excel will also show you if there is an incorrect formula, it will also put a star and show you that there's a problem here. But now, let's see here in this case, it's showing you that this particular formula here, what he has done is he has used instead of into, he has used plus. Okay, so wherever the formula is changed, Excel itself will give you that the formula is inconsistent. Now, the problem is if there are 10,000 records, how will you be able to find out which are the things which are inconsistent? Here, if you see the actual unit price is 31, but he has just multiplied this by 23. Okay, which means he's applied his own rate, which is not as per the official rate. So this is how you can do analysis, simple analysis with a few clicks. Let me come back to this particular data. I'll come back again to this one procurement. I got this procurement data. Let's say I want to get an idea about what are the sales which has happened as per the material code. So if, for example, in the case of Excel, I use a pivot table. Okay, here we'll see what is the difference between a pivot table and what is the difference in doing analytics. Now just imagine here, or just look at the data here. When I say classify, I've got all these fields. I can get the data. For example, I want to have the total as per the PO number. I can get it as per the PO number. I want the sales as per the vendor code. I can get as per the vendor code. I want as per the material code. I can get this. Okay, which means I can get this analysis for each of this type of data. I'm just going to do one type of analysis now. Let's say I want to do as per the material code. Okay, and I want the total of the amount. That's all. And I say, okay. Now you see, I've got this overall analysis. It gives me the total number of material code. It tells me the count of the material code and the sum. Not only that, it gives me the option to analyze it further just by a single click. I can sort it in ascending or descending order. Not only that, or let's say if I go by the amount, I sort it by ascending or descending order. And if I double click, what do you expect to happen? It'll take me back to the original data. So this is how you can do dynamic analysis. Now this you can save it in Excel depending on the type of audit or analysis you want. Okay, this what I said is classify. Let's say I got one of the clients who had a GST data and he wanted to do this particular analysis. Now this particular analysis of procurement data, let's say I got this particular procurement file. Let me, 1 minute. This is a procurement file. Let me take this file in a separate this one and do a little more analysis. I'm going to save this data in a new file because we'll be doing, I want to show another 8 to 10 functions in this. Just one sample data. I've got this. Now, most important when you do analysis, that file has to be saved. So I'm going to save this as analysis file. Another important thing is the file could not be available online. Now see, by default, Excel, this one, because in this case, try to keep it online. Now, if it's available online, this function will not work because the software has been installed on the local system, whereas the data is available online on OneDrive. So it will not work. Okay, I saved this file. Now I got this data. Now I got this procurement data. Now what I wanted to show you was, I come back to ECAT Enterprise. Now, what is that I want to do here? When I click on this, now you see all these functions are available. I was looking at classify. Now here, see what I want to do is, now let's say I want to select all. Okay, I want to the software to generate the result for all of them. But what are duplicate for them? For example, I got vendor code and vendor name, material code and material name. It doesn't matter. Payment terms, there's no sense in totaling. It doesn't make sense. User ID also, there's no sense in totaling. Location ID, yes. So then I say I want the total of the amount. Now when I give for multiple functions like this, okay, which means I want to do analysis for 10 or 12 functions. What you do when you click OK, it not open the Excel sheet. It actually perform the analysis in the background. It's like pivot table perform multiple times in one go, which means you're automating the pivot table itself for each of the functions wherever it's available. Now, if you see here, I got this classifier PO number. Now I'll show you the beauty of that index sheet. Now I got this date. I don't know how many sheets are there. Now I want to navigate to all the sheets. I just go here and I say index sheets. Now you see these are the analysis which has been done. It tells me classify with PO number. It tells me the PO number, the count and the sum. I got the vendor code. Based on each of the vendor code, I got the analysis. Similarly, based on the vendor name, I got the analysis. Based on the material code, I got the analysis, which means I can perform multiple functions analysis at one go using this. Now, this is in this case, what I did was I did analysis only on one field. Let's say I want to do analysis where I want to find out the purchases as per the vendor. I want to find out as per the vendor name and I want the quantity. Not only that, I want to group it by the material, which means I want to know for each of the vendor, what is the item I bought from each of the vendor names. So I've got this multiple things. I say, okay. Now, if you see here, for each of the vendor name, for each of the material name, I've got this. So it means I'm able to get a complete analysis of what are the purchase made for each of the product wise. And I can also see the count how many times it has been purchased. Okay, this is what I said. You can do dynamic analysis depending on what you want. Now you want to sort this, let's say based on the material name, just do a single click. You can get this as per the material name. Okay, I want to do analysis based on the vendor name. I just do analysis. I get this as per the vendor name. I want to know which is the vendor from whom you bought the maximum amount in terms of number of times. Okay, this tells you the maximum. Similarly, the material name, this is also going to be same. Now, this is how I can do the analysis. Not only that, I can also filter. For example, I want to pick up vendors where it's more than 10 times. Okay, I just give 10, I can get this value. I want to pick up what are the names. For example, in this case, in the vendor name, I want to pick up which are the names, which are, let's say, I've got this Apsara. See, I get this complete list of all the information. So if there are any mistake, for example, I got this Apsara Pro makers. Another place I will I can get this information at one glance. Okay, so I go further. Now I want to do stratify the data. When I say stratify, which means let's say I do a numeric stratification, which means all the purchases which have been made, I want to group them as per the value. Okay, now I have this one amount. Based on the amount, it tells me negative amount, maximum amount, and I say fill. It gives me the breakup, and I say okay. Now see, I'm able to get a complete analysis of for each type of value, what is the total number of times the sale has happened. Between 312 to 9,218, 1,013 count, that is the total number of sales which happened. Now between 9,219 to 18,076 has happened. Okay, let's say now most of these are 1,013, and I can also find out the exceptions. And I want to go to the exception. I can just double click and go to the exception. Now this, I want a further breakup. What I can do is I can come back again here and I say stratify, numeric. Now here what I do is, instead of using this autofill, I'll say free interval. I want between, let's say, 1 to 300. Okay, I've given 3,000. Okay, let's say I give 301 to 1,000, 1,001 to, let's say, 5,000, and I give 5,001 to 10,000. Okay, which means I'm analyzing the data based on this. Now just see the beauty of this. What happens when you do the analysis? What happens to the balanced data which are not selected? Now you see there are two things which are there. One is called as the upper bound, second is the lower bound. I gave the value between 1 to 10,000. It tells me what is the range of data between 1 to 300, 301 to this one. Like this, it does the analysis. Not only that, the lower bound, which means less than 1, which means there are 3 items which are negative, is also given. The upper bound, which is greater than 10,000, is also given. So this is how you can do the analysis, stratify. Now just imagine if you do in Excel. Now one of my friend is an Excel expert and it conducts courses on Excel. Now he shows the same function. For perform this analysis, it takes about 10 minutes and it shows you various types of formulas that you have to do. That's why I said you can use Excel, but use Excel as required, and you can go beyond Excel using data analytics software. Now in this case, let me show some other powerful functions. Here, let's say I got this function. I want to do a MIS based on this, or let's say I want to do a MIS. Okay, let's pick up the MIS itself. Let's see what is the type of MIS I can get. Now I've got this particular data. I pick up the amount and I say MIS. Now here I say I want the sales as per day of the week. Okay. For the complete sales which has happened, now if you see here, it will give me the total sales as per each day of the week. Not only that, it gives me the quantity, percentage, and the sum of the amount. Just imagine the type of analysis you can perform. Now you find that Saturday the sales is the lowest. Now you need to find out what are the reason. On Friday it seems to be the which is the day which is the highest in terms of count. It looks like Sunday is the highest. Okay, if you look at in terms of value, you find Saturday is the lowest and the highest is on Tuesday. Now based on this only, I think you can decide on if the value of the sales is low on a particular day. They come out like a Big Bazaar comes with a Tuesday offer, because I find most of the customers don't buy on Tuesday. They come with the offer. So this is how you can do analysis. The software can give you the information. You have to do the analysis or the inference as required. Now let's take the same analysis. I come to MIS. Now I'm going to do based on the amount. Okay, now I want this. Let's say I'm doing audit for GST. I got all the purchase data and I want month-wise breakup. Okay, so I've got this month-wise breakup. I just click this. Now you see here, I get the month-wise breakup. For each of the month, I get the total quantity and the count also, and also the percentage. Now this gives me an idea on what month the sales in terms of count is the lowest, on what month the sales is the highest. Okay, it also gives me a trend analysis. So this is what I said. You can do powerful analytics in a few clicks. Now let's say of all the sales which has happened, I want to do what is called as a Pareto analysis. Okay, now let's say of the vendors from whom you're buying, who are the top vendors from whom you're buying? Okay, so in this case, what I'll do is I select the Pareto field, which is the it doesn't say based on the vendor name. Okay, when I say okay, now based on each of the vendors, it tells me now it has actually analyzed the data of 1100. I find there are 359 records where 80% of the total value of the sales is made. Now it's also added the percentage. And if you see the balance, there are about 220 records which constitute the balance 20% of the sales. Now same thing I want to do based on Pareto analysis. I want to do based on, let's say, the material. Now I did as per the vendor. I want to find out which are the high moving items. So I just select the material code and I say group by. No, I have to just pick up the material code and I select the amount here. Okay, I can also select the quantity here. Okay, now this will give me the analysis. See, based on the material code, you find there are 10 records which constitute 18%, and there are balance 3 records which constitute value in terms of the balance 20%. This is how I can do a Pareto analysis. Similarly, I can also do a ABC analysis or ABC analysis, etc. Now let's pick up one more information on this. Suppose I have this particular data. Now one of the audit requirement was, now I'm buying this material code. I want to see whether the rate variance as far as this is concerned, which means what are the purchases which are made as per the material code, and whether the rate is in conformance with the standard rate we are buying, and what are the variance in the prices of procurement as per the materials. If you have to do this in Excel, it's going to take a long time. I'll just show you in a very simple way how this can be done using data analytics software. I come to analytics. Okay, there is a function called relative size factor. Just see how simple it is to use the software. Now I'm going to pick up the quantity, not quantity. I have to pick up the material code or the material name, both are same. Okay, and I've got the unit price. Okay, which means as per the material name, I want to do the unit price, and I say okay. Now I see for all these 1100 items, it groups these items as per the material code, and it tells me, okay, which is the first highest price I paid for this, which is the second highest price, and what is the relative size factor, which means the difference between the first highest and the second highest, I divided by this one. For example, 700 divided by 70, it gives me 10 times. Which means if you look at the variance is 900%. Similarly, in this particular item, I got the 75 times I purchased. Okay, now if I want to see the details, now it could be possible that 70, generally, which is the price? Is it 70 or 700? I just double click. Now I just go to the unit price. Now if you see here, there's one item, 55 quantities has been purchased at 700 rupees, and this from a particular party. And I also know who is the user who entered it, which location has purchased it. Whereas generally the price is 70 rupees. Not only that, if I just do analysis, I find here this actual price is 31. Now, if you see here, total number of 80 items is 81. Now here I want to pick up which are the items which are greater than, let's say, 31. So I give a 10% variance. Now, if I give a 10% variance, which is 35, I find these are the items which have been purchased at a higher price. So what audit finding I wanted to do, for example, one of the Amazon seller wanted to have this analysis. It's an internal audit function which they want to perform. And Amazon for this particular seller had about 1 lakh items of sales per month. And they had to analyze 9-month data, which is 9 lakh records. And doing pivot table, they're able to do it using the pivot table for about 100 items they did in 3 days. Whereas now you see for all the item of 9 lakh records, we're able to load the software on the server, install Excel and this software, and we're able to do in less than 10 minutes. Which means we have done a complete analysis, product by sales, the rate analysis. Now let's bring a twist to the tail in this. Now let's say this person who is the accountant, he also knows about this relative size factor and knows auditor has used this function to find out this. So what does he find out? He finds the first maximum price and the second maximum price. Okay, so what he'll do is the second maximum price he'll buy it at 690. So in that case, what happened in the relative size factor, this item will not be found. So for that, we have got one more formula, which is called as the maximum variance factor. So when I do the maximum variance factor, now you see the difference between this. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up the material code or the material name. Okay, I select the unit price. Okay, now you see the result and you'll be able to understand. So it just takes a few seconds. So if you see here, it gives you the maximum price, the minimum price, and the maximum variance. Now you find there are some items which did not come earlier. Now they're also coming. Now you find this particular item, D86031, we bought 94 times. The minimum price we paid is 31.2 and the maximum price is 5,124. Okay, so I just do a double click to find out the details. Now I find here, now this particular item, now you see here, this particular item has been bought, 13 items have been bought at 5,124 and 55 items have been bought at 151. And you see 10 items, it gives me the complete analysis. Plus it tells me the general rate is 31 rupees. Like I think we had somewhere long back now in the Asian Games, they bought toilet paper for 5,500 rupees or 10,000 rupees. Whereas actually it should be less than 50 rupees or 60 rupees. Now this is what we can do analysis in a very simple way. Now just imagine if you have to do this in Excel. In fact, I designed a course for Excel for CAs students, and I showed how they can do this maximum analysis, this maximum variance factor, and also the relative size factor. But it takes time because you have to perform so many steps. Whereas here, you can perform this analysis in a few seconds. Now, this I just showed you example in a few sheets. For example, this particular data, what I got now, let's say I have got this, assume this is GST data. I don't have GST here. Assume this, I want to group this data based on the, I say by group. I got the monthly sales, and let's say I want to group it as per the product. So I just go here and say I want to group it by the product, let's say the material code. What it will do is for each of the material code, it will group the data and create separate worksheets for each of them. See, now it's already doing the analysis. So it means it has created a separate sheet now. Now, if you see this particular split sheet has got all the sales as per the material code. Now, if you want to do a rate-wise analysis, let's say TDS rate for each of the TDS applicable or GST rate applicable, you want to find the analysis, you can get this information. See, and not only that, it has added an index sheet also, so you can do a total analysis based on this. So this is just a small a list or a functions of what I performed. Let me close by just showing, before I want to close, go to the next part of the presentation. What are functions I performed? I can also do a rerun. When I click on the rerun function, you find here what a function I performed. All these functions will be documented. Okay, which means what are functions, which means as a part of the audit record, if your staff has performed the function, you will also be able to know what function was performed at what time, what are the results they got. Okay, not only that, you can rerun the function, you can perform this. Now you want to save all this analysis as a part of your audit documentation or for a peer review, you can save this as an Excel file. Not only that, now out of these functions you performed, you want to auto rerun, which means you want to perform select type of functions. You can also select which are the functions you want to perform. Using the multiple rerun, you can perform these functions. Now let's say this list of functions, next time you go for audit, you want to perform this again, you can save this as a template and perform this function once again. It will also store the parameters which you use for the analysis. Like in procurement, what type of function I performed, what did I select. It also gives me the usage statistics. In our analysis, what type of functions do we use. Now I can also refresh, which means when I say refresh, what functions I performed will be performed again. Okay, so you also have sampling. For example, there are about 30 plus types of sampling. I can do classified. Based on the classification, I can select the sample, or based on profiling, I can select the sample. I'll just show you one last function before we go further. Let me close this file because another 2 parts of the presentation I want to cover. Let me come back here. Okay, it looks like I closed Excel by mistake. Okay, in the meantime, let me just, before I go further, I just want to know at this time, I think probably I can just stop and ask if there are any questions. You can put in the chat. How can we get the software? What are the costs? Okay, I do not want to talk about the cost now. You can go to a website and find out the cost. You can go to website vincat.com. You can find out the cost of the software. We have, in fact, we have got a special price for CS. We get 60% discount for CS. Okay, do you have any other questions? If you got any questions, you can ask. Site name. Okay, let me see. Yeah. WCAT.com. Okay, WinCat, WINCAAT.com. Okay, let me go ahead. Okay, I got the Excel. So I was opening this particular file. Okay, let me start with one file. Okay, any questions so far? I just gave you a simple example of how you can perform. Maybe I would have shown you about 10 or 12 functions. Okay, this is what I said is the power of the data analytics software. If you go to website, let me just go to the website. I think I'll just take a minute. If I go to website, vincat.com. Now this is the website. So if you go to the software, these are all the list of the software which are available. Okay, now it will give you a quick overview for each of the software. We are given a quick overview of what the software can do. Okay. Next, you can also go to the software. When you click on the software, so you'll also be able to get an idea about the videos. I've also got, for example, some of the recordings, 51 techniques of data analytics. What is data analytics? Do all these particular things are available. What are the 15 functions of key sampling? So these are already recorded. These are some user presentations. For each of the software, I think most of the software we got presentations. Not only that, we also have got webinars. So if you go to a webinar, the recordings of the webinars will also be there. For example, you want to look at ECAT, the last recording I did, this particular this one video is available, which you can view. In most of the case of the video, it will also have the time. For example, if you go to the specific video, you can click on details. You'll find for each of the function, if I perform given a demo, you are interested in, let's say, compare. You can just go to that particular section where the compare is there and see the demo. So if you want to look at the pricing, you can also request a free trial. You can also buy or renew. This section gives you the pricing of the software. Okay, now let's close this. Now here I want to this to be more of an educational this one. So that's why I'm focusing more on the presentation. I don't want to focus on the marketing part here. Okay, let's come here. So if you see here, I've told you there are various types of functions. Now all these have been grouped together in different buckets. Okay, now you've got search functions where you can go and search based on specific criteria. You can also, let me show you one last thing before I go to the next part of the presentation. Now let me come to the sales item. I was telling you, one of my friend was showing this identify duplicates. Now I got the sales item, I got this invoice numbers. I want to identify duplicates. Okay, there are various techniques through which you can identify duplicates. And there are multiple ways they do. Now I'm just going to show you one simple thing. Identify duplicates. I can identify duplicates and then say I just identify duplicates based on the invoice number. So this is the second click. Okay, I can get a detailed or a summary. I'm just asking for details. I say, okay, this got about 6,000 plus records. Now you see, it scans through all the records and tells me that there are 28 records which are duplicate. Now Excel, I think to Office 365 also has got this function where it highlights this, but you find we got many more features compared to this. Now if you see here, 1034 is a duplicate. Like that, I am able to get the duplicates. Not only that, I can also get a summary, identify duplicates. I can identify uniques. I can also remove duplicates. For example, I got the payroll file. I want to find out unique, which means who has been paid only once. I can identify the unique and pick up that amount. I go to invoice number and I say I want summary. Now you see. Now this will give me, see, there are 3 blanks. 1034 has come twice. Like that, I'll be able to also get a summary of the duplicates. So in duplicate itself, there are various other functions. For example, here, let's say I got something called same, different. What is same, different? It could be possible that we have got some specific products which you buy from some particular vendor. So what I want to do is, let's say I want to pick up the, okay, this is pertaining to sales, so I may not be able to perform this function. So if, let's say I go to procurement, I can just say that, okay, in this particular this one, which is the vendor, and from that particular vendor, the material code, and if it is different, it will tell me these are the materials which you bought from the unauthorized vendor who is not authorized. I can also link these 2 things, which means I got 2 files with the sales file. For example, in this case, let's say I got the sales file. Okay, let me show you this one last thing before I go. So what I would like to do is I have the sales file, and where is my sales file? To navigate further, now see here, I got something called go to the first sheet. Now see, it comes to the first sheet. Now I wanted to go to the sales trans file or sales with items. Let me go to sales trans. I got the sales trans. Okay. Now if I come back to the items, now I also got the sales trans limit. So which means I got the limit. What I want to do is a part of my audit, I want to check the authorization policy. I want to check whether all the sales which has been made is within the authorized limit, which means all the sales transactions being entered is within the authorized limit. So in this case, what I do is I actually have to join this function. So I do this function using the relate. In relate, I can also append the files. And you let me come back to join. I come to join files. So it says function can be performed only if second has unique. I say yes. So now it tells me I'm already in the sales transaction file. Then the second file I'm going to select is the sales trans limit. Okay, now I am going to join user ID. Now, if you also see here, I've given the steps also so that you don't make mistakes. Step 3, step 4 is user ID, where user ID is equal to user ID. And I can say I want these details, only match records from both the tables, or records in primary, not in secondary, which means, or records secondary, not in primary. Like that, I can join based on multiple conditions. Okay, let's say only match records. I had 1100 records. So if I just give this, it'll be able to tell me which are the records, which are transactions where the user ID is there. Now, the totally 1100. I can also find out transactions where the transactions have been entered by user other than the authorized user. I can also find out records in secondary, not in primary, which means there are user IDs created, but they're not entered any transaction. So it'll join both the tables, and based on that, it'll give me the result. So this is just a small example of how you can perform analysis. You find your the insights you can provide to the management will definitely be much higher when you do data analytics. Now you have got over 300 plus functions, and what I said in the case of ECAT Pro, I find there are 6,376 functions. Sorry, there's 6,376 rows. It tells me what is the sales limit, what is this. Now here I've got the primary sales and what is the limit he has got. So it is joined both the files, and based on that he has got. I can save this in Excel, and I find which are the transaction where the sales is greater than the limit. I can find this. Now to do this simpler, we have got one function which is called as the authentication check. Now here, what I do here is I have got the sales trans. I see same analysis I'm going to do. See here, I pick up the sales trans limit. So it's important to select the right file. I say user ID, step 4, user ID, step 5, I say equals. This is what I got. Next, I wanted to find now step 6 sales, step 7 is trans limit, and I say greater than, which means where the sale is greater than the transaction limit, which means I'm doing a complete authorization policy check in just a few clicks. Now, out of the 6,000 plus transactions, now you find here, I'm able to find out the transactions. There are 18 transactions where that amount, for example, where this transaction amount is greater than the limit. For example, here, this person has entered transaction 49,650, where the limit is 25,000. This person entered transaction 1,39,400, and whereas the limit is 1 lakh. So it means I can do the complete authorization policy check, whether for sales or purchase or anything for that matter, just by using this simple technique of authentication check. So like that, there are hundreds of functions which are available, which you can use. So this is what I said is the analyze function. And similarly, you got investigate, where I showed you we can perform various steps of analysis, investigation. You can also, let's say you got an opening trial balance and closing trial balance, and you want to make a comparison between the two and find out which are the accounts which are available in opening balance, not available in the closing PB. That also you can do using the comparative functions. Okay, this is quickly what I want to give you an idea about what you can perform using this data analytics. Now I want to go back to my presentation. Unless you got some questions, I can take the questions. Or I want to go to the second part of the presentation. Now, this is what I said, practical demo of key features of data analytics software. So what I suggest is you can go to our webinar recordings, or you can also see some of the recordings I've done. Let's say I got a specific recording which I did for ICI, 51 techniques of data analytics. So this what are the tips you want to use when you use data analytics? Get access to the data in the right format and curate. Understand the criteria. What is the controls you want to test? Now you should be able to draw the inference, understand the relevant business process and rules. For example, you are auditing procurement. You should know what is the procurement policy, what are the rules they have got. Okay, similarly, you can use the relevant techniques. And then what is most important is you should be able to provide insights to the management. So if you compare Excel and ECAT or data analytics software, you find Excel is like a simple knife, whereas the data analytics software, ECAT, is like a Swiss knife. So the most important thing, it is a time saver, enhanced use of MS Excel, and you can get business intelligent MIS on the fly. And you can perform powerful data analytics in a few clicks. So the bottom line is time is value and time is money for CS. You can do more in less time using ECAT. So if you remember the complete, so far we have spent about 65 minutes. The whole concept, if I have to take one message, the one message I want you to look at is, okay, you got the intelligence, you got the knowledge, you got the skills. Can we apply this to technology? And this is what I say, applying thought to technology, applying thought to data for inferring insights and providing insight to the management. Now, let me just take a quick pause and ask if there are any questions before I go to the next part. I hope my voice is clear. You are able to understand. I have a tendency to speak a little faster. Okay, let's get going. Learn how to okay, let me just see if there's anything in the chat message. Okay, there's nothing. Let me close this. Learn how to automate audit of Tally. This is another important aspect where most of CAs use Tally. How can we audit Tally? We have our own technique of ledger scrutiny, doing the audit of through Tally. I'm going to show you 4 key points here. How to use Tally itself for audit. Now, you know, as for Tally is concerned, there's a story about Tally that's most popular and widely used, simple and easy to attend, learn, and you can use it for most of the CAs use the software. Most of the clients use software. It's the most popular software and easy to learn and use. It's got different modules, comprehensive in terms of its coverage. Specifically for audit, if you look at this menu, this is what I've just captured a screenshot. You got a menu called analysis and verification. Now, this will be available and visible only if the company is created with a password. Okay, if you create a company without a password, this menu will not be available. Okay, so if you say that I am open Tally, I'm not able to see this, it could be because you created the company without the password. So it means you need to have security, and in security, you add the user ID and password, then you're able to see. So in analysis and verification, this is in Prime. In Tally ERP 9 also it is there, but with maybe a different menu with a small change in the name. Now you got data analysis. When you go to data analysis, these are the type of analysis which is available. Okay, now if you see here, second type of tools which you can use is this one type of it, this one menu specifically for CS. And you have another thing which is called exception reports. And these are all the exception reports which you can get. Okay, let me show you directly from Tally how you can do this. Now I'm going to open Tally here. Let me see, I've already got Tally open here. I've already opened a company here. Now if you see here, display more reports, when I go here inside this, I have this analysis and verification. I come to data analysis. Now when I go to verification chart of accounts, now it tells me the complete list, accounts cleared off during the year, accounts not used during the year, only balances with no transactions. Like that, it gives me list of, now here it tells me, these are all the transactions which are accounts cleared off during the year. Now, the point in this case is accounts cleared off during the year. So which means this particular trial balance, when you get the trial balance, this particular account will not come because most of the cases will pick up transactions without balance. So it means these transactions, they might have done adjustments and the debit and credit is tallied in the trial balance, it doesn't appear at all. Now that's why Tally has added this audit feature. Similarly, there are accounts which are not used during the year. So this gives me transaction accounts which are not used during the year. Now it could be possible there are some transactions that have not passed. You can also scrutinize this. Only balances, no transactions, which means it's very clear. In this particular transaction, in this particular ledgers, there are no transactions at all. It fixed assets, okay, but in other case, for example, this party, Ravi Traders, there's a balance of 2,000 rupees and there are no transactions during the year. So it means probably they have not paid for more than a year, which means maybe this has to be written off. So you can decide based on this scrutiny what the action to be taken. Similarly, revenue ledgers having opening balances. Now, if the revenue ledger, now for example, prepaid insurance, they should not be shown here. So you can find this, they actually wrongly classified the prepaid insurance as a revenue ledger. So you can go and reclassify them as an asset instead of an expenditure. Okay, used only in the current year, which means these are accounts which have been opened during the year. Okay, so like this, it gives you various types of audit features. Now, for example, verification stock items, it tells you the negative stock. Similarly, if I come to verification balance, it gives me the summary of the balances. Similarly, I've got analytical procedures where I can find out, let's say, analyze different groups. For example, I want to find salary divided by sales, or say, advertisement divided by the sales, like that, and payroll divided by the sales. Like that, I can do various types of analysis for various types of groups or the ledgers. Okay, if there are any pending documents, I can make a list here. Similarly, I got the periodic payments. Which are the accounts which have got periodic payments? For example, in this case, I've marked the rent. In that case, it will tell me how many times the rent has been paid. It also has got repeated transactions. So Tally actually gives a complete summary. In this case, it tells for each of the accounts, for example, how many times the transaction is repeated. For example, you see Kavita's rent account should have been actually coming only 12 times. It has come 18 times. So you can just do analysis and find out why it is more. Similarly, let's say if you got any other expense, salary, it should have been only 12 times. Similarly, cash amount for each type of cash transaction, it tells me how many times the transactions come. For example, if you're doing tax audit, now I find this cash transaction of 25,000 rupees has come 7 times. So you can do the analysis very quickly using this repeated transactions. You also got to remember relative size factor we told you. This also gives you the relative size factor as per the transactions. It also has got interbank transactions, which means contra entries. At one glance, you can also get to know the cash withdrawals and deposits from banks. Like that, it has got various types of analysis. You also get fixed analysis, where you'll also get the additions and the deletions. Whereas individually, when you open the account, you'll not be able to get this. Here, you get a complete summary at one glance for all the fixed assets. What are the opening balance, additions, deletions, and the closing balance? It also gives me, if you configured it, this will come. Where are there any transactions on a holiday? Okay, you'll be able to pick up transactions which are come on a holiday, then you can investigate further. It also gives me, remember we talked about the MVF, it also tells me for each of the ledger name, which is the highest amount or which is the lowest amount, so that you can do the analysis. All these are data which is provided by Tally itself for the purpose of analysis. Okay, this is what we said, that you got this feature in Tally. Okay, this what, now let me come back to my presentation. So this is what are the audit features which are available, which you can directly generate the reports. Now let's come to the problem statement, why you need to use audit Tally data. The problem statement is, can we automate the audit of Tally? How can we dynamically interface the Tally to get the required information into MS Excel? Now I want information on masters, the data and the reports into MS Excel so that I can do further analysis. Now the problem here is the data exported to MS Excel from Tally, quite often you find takes time, because sometimes you see in Excel, when you do it row by row. And even after that, you find the transaction is not properly formatted. And it requires further analysis. You cannot do filtering and pivot table using the data we exported. Now, the solution is, how do you extract the information? How do you interface Tally and extract the master transactions and reports? This is where TCAT comes into the picture. TCAT is Tally CAT, which means you can use Tally itself for audit. It supplements the simplicity of Tally with the power of data analytics by providing the data of Tally in MS Excel in a structured format. So in simple terms, you can export the masters and transactions from Tally to MS Excel, and this can be done in a very simple manner. I'll just give you a quick demo later. So one-stop solution for importing data of masters transaction reports from Tally to MS Excel in a few clicks, so that you can perform further analysis. You can do further analysis using Excel or using any data analytics software. So this gives you the salient features of the software. Who can use it? And the usage of the software is very, very simple. I'll show you that. These are the panels which are available. Now let's give you some use cases. Now how to use it? It's very simple. Open the Tally and select the company. In this case, I've already done that. Identify specific masters or transaction data or report required to be imported from Tally. Open MS Excel and click on the TCAT tab. Use specific function of TCAT to get required data and review the data in MS Excel. I'll do this shortly. Now this is what is the use case. So what the CFO wants to do is it wants to export all the masters with the configuration, etc. And they want to have a review. The audit manager will do the review, and then you can do the analysis. This is one case. Second case, CFO wants to improve the quality of their assurance by implementing standard process for review of compliances and conformance. So they want to export all of the selected transactions for that particular period. This is another case where they want to perform statutory audit and consulting, and they want to do a ledger scrutiny. Okay, let me come to the demo. I have got Tally. Okay, let me see. I've got Excel. Yeah, Excel is also there. So let me close this. I'm going to open a blank sheet. Now TCAT is the software. Like I said, TCAT is also an add-in to Excel. Now, when you click on TCAT, these are the functions which are available. For example, you can open Tally, you can enter the company info, run in background mode. Okay, you can also get an Excel log, all the functions performed. There will be an Excel log and activities log. There is some sample test data. You also have the rerun, refresh, and index sheets. Okay, now let's come to the general info. And just click on general info. For this particular company which is open, so first time Tally Prime will take a little time to do the cross check and check whether the configuration, everything is available, properly set. So once I click on the general info, now it tells me this is the information. I say select all. What the software will do is it'll send a SQL query for each of these functions. And now you see I've got this information. For example, what are the security features enabled in Tally? Yes or no? What are the system info? What is the statutory info of the company? Okay, what are the license info? In this case, I'm using educational version. I have the company features. Similarly, I have this the company info. These are all the masters which are available. Okay, let me open one more sheet. Now, this is what I said. I can export the masters from Tally to Excel. I'm opening one more sheet of Excel. Now, here what I would like to do is click on TCAT. Now, I showed you the general info. I come to the master info. Now, you see, master info has got a gold mine of information. I'm just going to pick one example. Let's say the list of ledgers, ledger groups, expense ledgers. I say, okay. Now, all these masters pertain to the list of, see, it's already done. See, I've got the expense ledgers. All the ledgers which are marked as expense, it gives me the complete list. It gives me the group configuration, how each of the group has been configured. Now, for example, I want bill wise, for which account bill wise has been set, for which accounts cost center has been set. Okay, I'll get all the voucher types and whether the voucher type is manual or automatic. I get all the ledger groups. I get the complete list of ledgers with all the details. What is the opening balance, what is the closing balance, what is the account value, all this information I get in one glance with the user ID also. And if there are GST related ledgers, I get this information. Now, similarly in master info, I want, let's say, stock related information. I just click on the stock related information. Now you see, I get all this inventory related information in one go. See, once I got this information, I'm just going to this, let's say, category analysis. It gives me the category wise analysis. It means the group wise summary of the information. All this information pertaining to masters, which would have taken so much time to export from Tally, I'm able to do this through the software in a few clicks. And this is what is possible. Let me click this here. Yeah, now if you see here, inventory balances. Now, using this itself, this is what I said in use case 1. Using this analysis, the audit manager with this team can go through this one and identify which are the specific items which I want to further analyze. So this is what I talked about the master info. In the master info, I can also get the ledger masters. For example, I want the master configuration for the account, for the address, email ID, like that. I also want the GST related info. For the GST related info, in this case, I have not opened a company GST. I can get all this information about GST in one go, which means I can just say select all and I say, okay, it will extract all this GST related configuration and the other details from Tally and gives you in a few clicks so that you can do further analysis. I can also do query of the masters. For example, which are the accounts where the opening balance is 0 and the closing balance is 0, or the credit limit is greater than 0. Like that, I can do analysis depending what I want. This as far as the master info is concerned. Now let's come to the transactions. If I come to the transactions, now here I got the day book. Now I'm going to go to the day book transactions. Here I said I can export all the transactions in one go. See, it tells me by default that data is available from 2012 to 31/3/2013. Okay, I can also select additional details if I want. I say I don't want this. Now, if you see here, I'm just exporting the complete data. Let's see the number of rows. And how the data will be available. Now, this data in the background, what's happening is This software has sent a query to Tally. Tally will extract all this information in XML. That XML the details will come to the software, and from the software, once again, we pick the fields which are required, and we give the data in a structured manner here. Now, if you see here, when you export the daybook from Tally, you can export and check whether the data comes in this ledger in this fashion. Now, the beauty of this is once I got the data in this way, I can do the analysis. For example, let's say I pick up the rent account. I want to pick up, okay, let's say in this case, office rent account. I can extract only the office rent account. Okay, so I can find this information. Immediately, I can do an exception here. Generally, the rent is about 1 lakh rupees. Now, in this case, what has happened? Why it is 1,50,000 rupees was paid? Okay, or at the beginning of the month, 75,000 rupees being the office rent payable for the month of April. Okay, here it went up to 1,50,000. Then I find here the narration being the rent enhanced by rupees 25,000 and the deposit rupees 50,000 payable for the month of May 12. Which means in this case, that 50,000 rupees, the accountant is wrongly accounted as an expenditure, whereas it should have gone as a rent deposit. This is what I can do analysis, which means I can get the complete list of all the transactions from Tally in a single page. Whether it's 1,000 transactions or 10,000 transactions or 50,000 transactions, I can get here. Now I want to analyze and pick up only transactions pertaining to a particular month or date. I can do the analysis. This is how I said, once you get the data in the structured fashion, I can do the analysis in this way. For example, let's say I want to pick up only the cash related transactions. Now I just want to pick up, let's say, only cash related transactions. I say, okay, now I got only the cash related transactions. Now this pertaining to payment. Now I want to pick up all the transactions which are greater than 20,000 for my tax audit purpose. See, I got this complete list of all the cash transactions which are there. Okay, so it means I have got this complete, I'm able to do a complete scrutiny of this. Similarly, I want to find receipts, I can do this. So this is what happens when you got the data in a structured fashion, they can do the analysis in the way you want. Now, this is about the daybook. Like this, I also have one more interesting thing, which is called as the ledger vouchers. In the case of ledger voucher, I'll not do it, but I'll just explain to you. In the case of the ledger, for each of the ledger transactions, it also tells me the corresponding ledger name. For example, here you see, I got the Gordon rent in one row and the Navaran Cooperative Society to whom it has been paid to payable in another row. So in the case of ledger vouchers, the transactions will come in one row. So for each of the transactions, I can analyze and know which of the corresponding ledgers to which has been done. I want to extract only the cash transactions or bank transactions or cash and bank transactions only. Like that, I can do this. I want to consolidate ledgers. For example, I got the TDS. And TDS, they open TDS 2.5%, 5%, 10% like that. I want to consolidate all the ledgers of TDS. I can also do that. Okay. Not only that, when I go to daybook transactions, I can say extract. Now in this extract, let's say I want, let's say parent, and I want all expenses pertaining to, let's say, indirect expenses. I can extract all the ledgers pertaining to indirect expenses. It tells me these are the ledgers available. Okay, all this I can select which are the ledgers I want for indirect expense. For example, let's say I want advertisement expense, business promotion, or let's say commission. I can extract ledgers of this particular type. And I can also apply criteria. I want the where the amount is more than 5 rupees or 10 rupees. Now, what happens in these cases? It extracts the transactions as per all this ledger in one page. I should have selected, let's say in this case, I select this. Okay, I said okay. I got the direct expense. I select all. Now here, I have separate worksheet for each of the ledger. When I click on this, okay, what will happen? Each of the ledger charges everything. What are ledgers I want? I'll be able to get in a separate worksheet. Now you see here. Not only that, it added index sheet, carriage inwards. I've got the freight charges, go down rent, packing charges, wages. So it means I can extract specific information based on what I want. Let's say I want trial balance. Now I also had some of my friends who are preparing trial balance. Now they want to prepare the schedule 3. For one of the steps for the schedule 3 is the need the trial balance with the ledger and the groups. Now here we have opening balance. I just want the closing balance, and I want with the parent and the primary. Okay. Okay, let me come back to Excel. Yeah. So if there are multiple companies, I can also get consolidated trial balance for multiple companies. Okay. Now I can also get reports pertaining to the inventory transactions, cost center, payroll. Not only that, I will show you the last part here. In this case, we've got something called audit features. Any message? Okay. So sometimes I think there's a problem in the internet connectivity. So that's where you get the voice cracking. Okay, let's come to this. I was telling about ECAT. Now I have this. We have this audit features. When you use this audit features, now also before that, you have the sales. You can get all the sales vouchers. This is useful for our GST audit. I want the sales in a columnar format. You can do this. I want purchases and I want purchase in a columnar format. You can get this. Similarly, journal. Now let me come to audit. Now I told you about this ledger scrutiny. I showed you the features in Tally, account squared off, all these things. Now all these things I can just get in one click here. See all these reports which you're showing in Tally one by one in that exceptions. Now I'm able to get this. See, you have got this complete information in one go. Accounts squared off. Okay, accounts not used, accounts with no transactions. Like that, we got all this information in one go. Similarly, I got exceptions. I click on exceptions. I'll be able to get the negative ledger, negative stock, all these things. I can just say select all and I say okay. It will be able to give me all this information. Not only that, we have added some more additional features here, where it also adds the parent and the primary group, so that you can do required. Now you see here. See, I got this negative ledgers, receivables. Okay, and then you got payables. So there is a gold mine of information available for you for the purpose of audit. There's another new thing we added, something called the audit summaries. Okay, so I'll just explain to you. I'll not be able to show because this will take time. So here I have this monthly report. I can pick up the monthly report and say I want to percentage wise for ledgers, or I want to pick up expense ledgers. I want monthly chart. I can generate the complete analysis for each of the type of transactions. So this is what I said. In the case of ECAT, you can extract the information pertaining to the, coming back to my presentation. It simplifies the simplicity of Tally. You can export from Tally to MS Excel and you can do analysis as required. So it means you can do more in less time by using ECAT Enterprise and MS Excel. This completes the second part. The third part I'll take about 12 to 15 minutes. Practical automation of CAs. I want to look at now. I want to push data. Now, if you see in ECAT, what we did was we pushed data from Tally to Excel. Now, in this case, we want to push data from MS Excel to Tally. Okay, how to automate MS Excel to Tally? What is the problem statement? Quite often, if you see when you're using Tally, creating master data entry in Tally requires time and expertise because you have to do each of the accounts one by one, and that the accountant should be well versed or familiar with that. Now, the question is there a faster and easier way of creating the masters and entering transactions in Tally? Another important thing is when you export the data from Tally to Excel, it's not formatted. So some of the functions pertaining to ECAT we also added in EduTallySoft. So why use EduTallySoft? It supplements the powerful feature of Tally with the simplicity of MS Excel. Okay, I'll show you a little shortly how you can automate this particular function, which means what are data you got. For example, let's say one of your client is doing sales on Amazon and you've got the sales details download from Amazon. Now, manually, the data is once again entered in Tally. Instead of that, directly from that Excel worksheet, you can convert it to the Tally voucher and import into Tally at one go. Similarly, let's say somebody has entered the data in the GST portal. Now, finally, they come at the year end and want to update the accounts in Tally. You can download the GST purchase and sales from the Tally, from the GST portal, and you can convert it to Tally voucher and import into Tally. Suppose you get the bank statement, you want to take the bank statement and you want to import the bank statement directly, you can do that. I'll show you a demo shortly. So what you can do in EduTallySoft is automated conversion, which means you can import information of masters and data from Excel to Tally in a few clicks. Yesterday, in fact, I was doing an assignment for a client, and the client has got about 18. They're using this industrial NGO. They have an industrial ERP software, and for just the 2 months, we had done it earlier up to July. Now for November and December, we are doing the conversion. When we did the conversion for one entity, there are about 21,000 rows in that Excel daybook which they generate from that ERP software. For the purpose of accounting, as per the Indian records, they wanted to maintain in Tally. Now just imagine if they were supposed to be done manually, these 21,000 transactions, they're giving you an Excel, and manually they talk to some CAs to do the manual data entry, and they found that actually they charge about 3 rupees to 5 rupees per transaction. Whereas we developed an automated solution similar to EduTallySoft, these 21,000 transactions, you may not believe, we're able to import in less than 8 minutes, which means all the 21,000 transactions from that EFIN daybook, what is there in Excel format, we're able to convert to the Tally voucher and import into Tally in less than 8 minutes. So this is what is possible in EduTallySoft. Okay, this gives you the key features. How to automate. This process is very simple. Open Tally, select the company period for which to import the data. Open MS Excel and click on tab of the EduTallySoft. Click on specific function. Now I'm just going to give you one simple example, one complete walkthrough. For example, for accounting, these are the steps which are given. Instead of explaining this, I'll show you directly the steps. This is the same thing for accounting, similarly for inventory. See, the steps are very simple. Open Tally and select the company period for which you want to import the data. Open MS Excel and click on the EduTallySoft tab. You download the template. For each of the type of data, we got standard templates. You can download the template, and there are two types of templates. One is with sample data, second is ready to fill. And you can import the masters. Once you fill up the data, you can import the masters and then you can confirm. Next step is to download the template of the vouchers, fill up the data in the vouchers, and you can import. And then you can import the voucher data and review the results. I'll show you the 7 steps. There's one more function. Sometimes you may not have the data in the standard format. Whatever format the data is available, we have functions called convert to vouchers, using which you can convert the data. For example, let's say, like I told you, GST portal or the Amazon seller or any other Amazon e-commerce sales, they download the data, and from that particular Excel data, what is available, we can convert this as a voucher and import it. Okay, now we got sample formats for sales, purchases, etc. Okay, how to automate? These are the use cases we got. I'll show you some of the example. For example, bank statement. This is one of the most popular function which is used here. But I've got a bank statement, and from the bank statement, I want to import. Okay. Second case is where I got the GST portal. I downloaded the data, and from there I have to do. It could be from the GST portal, or it could be any other type of data, or it could be purchase details. Let me go to the demo. I'll show you how that is possible. So in this case, I'll close this Excel worksheet, which is not required. Okay, let me come back here. Okay, I've got only one more. Yes. Now, what I'm going to do is, let's start with this. I've got this particular data. Now, in this case, now this is a data we got from one of the clients. He had some issue. He wanted us to resolve this. What I would like to do is, this is the sales data which I got. He has entered the data in this particular transactions, or he has given the template to the client, and the sales data is available in this particular format. Okay. So what he wants to do is, he wants to convert this into a standard tally voucher format with the debit and credit for this. Okay, let's see how to do. And in this case, this is with inventory items. Okay, just follow me as I do this. I open tally. Now, in this case, I'm not going to import. I'll show you import a little in just another couple of minutes. Okay, I'm just going to show you how to convert this as a tally voucher. Once it converts as a tally voucher, you can import this. Okay, now I'm going to pick up this is pertaining to sales. Item name, sales account. I'm going to pick up the sales. One minute, it's opening the form. One. Okay, let me just check what is the issue. I think there is some issue. 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. Let me just see if there is some issue here. Okay. Sometimes Excel is open in the background. It creates a problem. In fact, eTallySoft is one of the most popular software used by hundreds of CAs across India. Okay, this seems to be okay. What we do is, okay, let me just go, let us close this. Let's see. Now, if you see eTallySoft, let me just give you an overview. Okay, so Excel is getting some issue here. Okay. Okay, now I think it should be fine. Let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead. So I was telling you about the back. Okay, let me do one thing. I'll show you directly from here. Now, for example, if you see here, I got the template pertaining to the masters. Let me show you the import where I'll come to the conversion. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to open a company here, create a company. So here, let's call this as test demo. Okay, this I'm going to give that 1st April 20. Okay, done. So I've created the company now. Okay, so now I'm going to close this existing company. Now if you see here, test demo, if I go to DSS, you find there are no ledgers. There are some default ledgers which are available. There are no transactions here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to say, I've got this template. I got this template masters. In this case, I got accounting and inventory. I'm just going to pick up accounting. I said this, I set sample data and ready to fill. Now it gives you the guidelines when you want to use it. Now the masters to be created before opening, it's a new company. You got this, I have kept the sample data of groups, ledgers, and voucher types, and there are statistics. Now I'm going to create all this, for example, this ledgers groups which are there, just to watch the numbers. I got about 69 groups. Ledgers, I've got about 258 if I remove the header, and voucher types. Now here I come to this one. I come to into TallySoft and I say import to Tally masters. See, it's already selected groups, ledgers, and voucher types. And I say okay. See, now it validates. See, it's created the groups. It's importing the ledgers now, the 258 ledgers. Default, there will be 2 ledgers in Tally. See, it's created 256 ledgers, voucher types. So now it gives you statistics. Now, if you come to this one, let's say ledgers. Now you see ledgers also have got the balances, opening balances. Now, if you come to Tally, now if I come to statistics now, if you see here, in statistics, I've got the groups, ledgers, voucher types, all these have been created. Now, if I come to, there are no transaction now. If I come to, let's say the balance sheet, because I got the opening balances, now this gives me the balance sheet. This is all the opening balances. Similarly, in case of profit and account, there will be nothing except the stock if it is available. Okay, now this is done. Now, what I want to do now is I want to import the transactions. So I have got this pertaining to the masters which I have imported is over. So what you do is you use the ready to fill format and get the data. Now I'm going to use the template of masters. Now in this case, masters over. In masters, I can do the inventories, cost centers, or the bill wise. Let's say I come to vouchers. Now in vouchers, I got accounting. Now you see there are guidelines given here. Now in this case, I got the voucher types. These are the voucher types. When you use the convert feature of ECAT, this is how the voucher will be converted. Now this with inventory. Now if you look at the number of rows, now just imagine there are about 2,436 rows, okay, and 936 vouchers. Now all this I've already created the masters, everything. Now I want to import this. Now just imagine if this has to be done manually, how much time is it going to take? And I'm going to do it now right in front of you. Now import vouchers. Now it just tells me by default it is selected that it's only accounting. You don't have inventory. Okay, I want to push it into Tally. I can also convert as a XML. I can also decide what is the numbering of the vouchers. Now just watch the time here. I say okay. Now it's going to check the company open. It's always preferable that you keep only the company in which you want to import open. Please validate before importing. I say yes. It does the validation. There are vouchers beyond accounting period. Now, if you see, this accounting period is from 19, whereas now I have created the Tally company with this one. Click no to remove the vouchers. So I don't want to do that. So in this case, it will not import because wrongly I created the company with 2019. So what is important is you need to create the company for that particular period, because I created this company with this particular period of, I'll create one more company. Let me see if I can just 1 minute. Let me see if I can alter this company. Alt F3. Okay. Alter company. Yeah. So here, what I wanted was I wanted the data from 1st April 19. Okay, let's say it gave a message because it was not able to import. Okay, now I've got the data. Let me just see whether Tally is done. I'll take another 5 minutes. Okay, this is 1 April 90. Didn't okay. Yes. Okay. So I've already got the data now. So I don't have the masters in this. Let's see. I've got the masters already. Okay, very good. So here, let me just change the date here. Alt 19, M20. This is what I got. So I got the masters here and this is the data available. Let's see if I can import this particular vouchers. I go to validate, import Tally vouchers. Okay. Now it says importing vouchers. Now it is 7 o'clock exactly. Let's see. There are about 2,436 rows. Now it means there are about 900 plus vouchers. How much time does it take to import? See, magic created 916 vouchers. It took less than a minute to create this 916 vouchers. It also gives me the statistics of what has been imported. Now I want to check. I cannot believe it's done. So I go back here again, come back to statistics. Now you see 916 vouchers have been imported. Now what is the difference between this? Let me just change the period. Alt F2, A19 and M20. Okay, now I come to the day book. Now you see here. Now there is no difference between the vouchers you enter manually and the voucher which is imported. So all the 900 plus vouchers have been imported in just less than a minute. But there is a lot of hard work which is behind, which means you need to ensure that the groups are created, the ledgers are created. If it's an existing company, you need to just create the additional ledgers. In the validation, it will also check if the ledgers is not matching or the group is not matching. You can go and create that. Okay, this is how simple it is to import the data. Now I just want to show you one more example. Now I have got this, let's say ECAT. Now I got this template convert to voucher. I just want to show you one example. Let's say I have got this pertaining to sales. Last time we got stuck in, no, not E to Tally Soft. Last time, let's say I pick up the sales. So if this is sale voucher, I can convert this. Now here, this is not the right format. So what we do is, for the purpose of learning, we have kept some sample templates. So if you go to 1 minute, where did we create this? Export to template. Convert to vouchers. We got the templates here. Now see, for sales, I've got this particular template. I'm just going to show you two examples. One is pertaining to sales, another is pertaining to bank. Now this is the sample data I got. Now this, in this case, you see here, I got the transactions are just entered in. For each of the rows, I got it in one row. Okay. You already seen how marks can be imported, how transactions can be imported. Now I just want to show you how you can convert this into a Tally voucher template and import. Okay. Now in this case, what I do here is I come to the software, I pick up the sales template, and I have to just map what field belongs to which. So in this case, let me just give the name of the company. Invoice date is already picked up. Voucher number, I'll give it as transaction ID. Okay, narration, if it's there, I can give the narration. Voucher type is already selected. Here I select the party name. So you already got the party name. It tells you the debit amount will be computed automatically. I say next. Now here, I can decide in which way the ledger is created. Now, if you see here, in this case, ledger could be available in two ways. One, the ledger is available, ledger name is available as separate column, or the ledger name is the header itself. In this case, the header is the ledger name. I just give the GST sales. Okay, next again, I got the output IGST. I just give output IGST. Here I give the output CGST. Here again, output SGST. I've done this. Now, in case there are any discount, TCS, etc., I can do. Okay, I can also create additional details. For example, if I want to add the additional details, for example, I want to capture the GSTN. I can capture the GSTN. I want invoice number, like that. I can capture details. I say convert data. Now it is already converted and it gives me the statistics. Now I say preview vouchers. See, now it has created the Tally vouchers. Okay, now I say save. The voucher has been saved. Now, if you see here, this is a sales voucher which has been converted. Now, with a 30 or 3000, you can convert this in one go. And once I've converted this, how do I import? I can just go to the import to Tally masters. I can also do a validate to check whether the masters are available, which means the ledger name, whatever is given, should be available here. Now, let me just give you one more example. Let's say I've got the bank statement. Let me pick up the template, sample data. I got the bank statement. Now here I have the sales return, purchases, like that. We have got different template for different things. I'm going to pick up one case, which is the bank statement. Bank, it could be single amount column. I say open. Now here I got the sample data. In this case, you see this amount is already available here. What I've done is I've downloaded the bank statement in Excel and just added the corresponding ledger for each of the items. Okay. Now I'll just show you how simple it is. This is the last thing I'm going to show you. So eTallySoft, I got this bank or cash. So I give the name. Now here, I give the name of the bank. In this case, let's say this is HDFC Bank. Now, if this is already available in Tally, I can just connect to Tally and pick up the ledger name. Column heading, this is very important. I just say the first cell. Okay, automatically it reads and picks up the last column and is also read the columns and populated it. Okay, just check whether it is correctly done. Okay, and then once I do, I also have to select, most important, I have to select the corresponding ledger name. Now, in this case, I want to put all the transactions, let's say in suspense account, I can just add the name here, suspense account, and do this. Or I've already created this in the corresponding ledger. I say corresponding ledger, I've already created. And then I say convert data. Now you see the complete bank statement, whatever is available is converted. It gives me the statistics. Let me preview the vouchers. Now you see it is already converted this as payment or receipt, everything is converted. So all the bank statement, you can just download and then you can, it gives you the preview. Now you see this has been created as a voucher. Automatically it creates whether it's a receipt or a payment or a contra. It also adds the transaction type based on the type of the transactions. Now this is ready to import. Now just imagine your your client comes to you with the bank statement file and it's got, let's say, 2,000 transactions, 3,000 transactions. You have to just analyze and add the ledger, corresponding ledger, and then automatically the ledger is created. The vouchers are created and you can import into Tally. This is the beauty of automation, that whatever be the number of transactions, you can import in a few seconds, but you need to get the data right. In most of the cases in automation, the most important principle is get the data right, then you will be able to get the automation right. And this is what I said, you can automate import from Excel to Tally. Okay, so you can do more in less time using eTallySoft. Okay, this I'm coming to the close. This is my email. You can also watch videos of this presentation. To summarize the discussion we had so far, is bank statements in PDF, then we do without converting to Excel? No, as of now, we don't have that feature. So it's best that most of the banks give the feature to download in Excel. So it's best that you do it in Excel because we have configured the software in such a way that it's in Excel, you can directly read this. Okay, it's in PDF, maybe you'll have to convert. There are a lot of online converters available. And if you're using Office 365, it gives you the format to open PDF in a Word file or an Excel file. Okay, yeah. Any questions? With this, I think I'll close my presentation. I'll stop sharing the screen. So if you got questions, I